welcome you to Pioneer Stadium in Hayward, California for tonight's Western Conference USL Championship matchup between Oakland Roots SC and Phoenix Rising FC. Two teams, Eric Dobransky, that are right next to each other in the Western Conference table right now.
And have really seen the first half of their seasons play out in different ways, but as you mentioned, sitting very close to each other in the Western Conference standings. Oakland Roots have found really good balance in both boxes, 20 goals for, 14 goals against. And for Phoenix Rising, really starting to get into form offensively. And
they started to get into that form about 2 weeks ago when they played, guess who, Oakland. Second time in 2 weeks we're seeing this matchup.
But sometimes this familiarity kind of breeds and presents different challenges. And I think for both these sides that sit so close together in the standings and realize how important these 3 points are, don't be surprised if you just see some tweaks and changes from that last matchup.
We take a look at our players to watch tonight, and Darish Formella really does a lot for Oakland.
5 goals on the season, and it's the way that he influences the match, because sometimes as an attacker, you're not always gonna be on the ball, you're not always gonna be involved in the play, but he still finds ways to be dangerous in front of goal, and whether it's creating for himself or others, it's really important for this Oakland Roots side.
And you talk about being dangerous in front of goal. Manuel Arteaga, 8 goals this year, tied for 3rd in the league and leading Phoenix.
Yeah, it's that saying that goals change games, and as we highlight 2 attacking players, and Arteaga, he's able to stretch the field. He's also able to really play tight on the touch and create for others, and I think it's the way he can link up with Trejo as well up top.
This is going to be tons of fun tonight. A lot of history between these two teams. A 2-2 tie 2 weeks ago. Tonight should be just as much fun. Starting 11 and the start of the match coming up on the other side of this time out.
It doesn't matter how hard you play, practice, or compete, as long as you do it together. That's why Anthem Blue Cross and Oakland Roots teamed up and took on food insecurity, empowered all athletes to improve physical health, and expanded health and wellness resources available to the residents of Oakland and the Bay Area. We're committed to continuing our work to improve the lives and health of our community, together. Visit oaklandroots.com/anthem to learn more.
My name is Ed, and I live in San Leandro, California. I've always been concerned about being prepared. And being on a medical baseline where I have a CPAP machine, I was wondering, will I be able to keep that thing going? I got an email from East Bay Community Energy, and they mentioned a rebate about getting an electrical generator. So I went for it. East Bay Community Energy has been great. They're doing a job to help our environment, and I think they're really supportive.
How can someone so cute be so complicated? Someone so grown up still have so much growing left to do. We know kids aren't many adults. Their still developing bodies and minds need specialized care, including physicians and care teams who focus on treating kids and only kids, which is why from everyday to emergencies, kids belong at UCSF Benioff Children's Hospitals.
Nane, en la entrada del área, Nane, no puede pegar el arco. La gana Mazzoso, dejando para Enfeca. ¡No se metió! ¡Balón adentro, golazo!
Tonight's match is presented in part by Anthem Blue Cross, by UCSF, and by Modelo. Let's check out tonight's starting 11. Starting lineups brought to you by Anthem Blue Cross. Anthem is transforming healthcare by improving the health of our local communities. Eric Dobransky. It is Paul Blanchette in net. He has been just wonderful this year, and a great group in front of him.
Yeah, league leader in clean sheets with 7 for Blanchette. We highlighted Formella in the open, but Johnny Rodriguez up to the challenge of 5 goals as well. So this front line, but I think it's going to be Matt Soso and Cedeno really controlling in the tempo of that midfield.
And now for Phoenix, this also brought to you by Anthem Blue Cross.
And I do think going back to Matt Soso and Cedeno for Oakland, for Phoenix, it's going to be about Gabby Torres, Varela, and Zambrano. Those entry passes, the way they dictate the pace of this game, can they open out and play out wide and create some of those numerical advantages out in those wide spaces? And for a team playing a team like Oakland that's so good defensively, it's going to be about finding balance in transition and in possession.
Tonight's injury report is brought to you by UCSF Health and UCSF Beanoff Children's Hospital. A couple players missing for both teams, Cuello and Traore for Phoenix and Donaciano for Oakland. As we get underway here this evening, Justin Galanti, Eric Dobransky, our entire outstanding crew. So glad you're with us tonight from Pioneer Stadium in Hayward, California. Both these teams coming in on pretty good runs. Phoenix is unbeaten in its last 3, Oakland unbeaten in its last 4. So, in theory, something's got to give tonight.
It is, and Phoenix coming off a short week playing at New Mexico United on Wednesday. So for Oakland, at home, playing a Western Conference opponent with a short week and short rest, I think that just emphasizes the start for Oakland. They can play on the front foot, maybe play a bit more urgent.
So Oakland in the home all-black kits, the all-white on the road for Phoenix. Juan Guerra, the head coach for Phoenix, Noah Delgado for Oakland. And, you know, it's a little bit less of a story because these two played 2 weeks ago, but of course Juan Guerra for a portion of last season was the head coach from about January to August last year in Oakland. But both coaches kind of said, we're hoping tonight's just about the 3 points and nothing else. Also a couple players for Phoenix who spent last season with Oakland.
It is, and there's a lot of familiarity, not even just playing each other recently, as you mentioned, but within the squads, as you talked about Juan Guerra. But you said it, we talked to both coaches earlier this week, and 3 points does a lot for both these sides. And Juan Guerra, and as we see Arteaga taking a knock there by Prentice and hobbling a bit there, but for Phoenix Rising, they feel really good about the trajectory and the way that they're playing right now, entering the second half of the season. Feels like offensively things are really starting to click. And really a good test again tonight against Oakland Roots, who have just been so good in both boxes. I mean, Noah Delgado's group, mentioned it in the open, 20 goals for, 14 against. They rank 3rd in the entire USL in fewest goals conceded. And then they lead the USL in 7 clean sheets.
How about this? Oakland has not conceded a goal on its home pitch since April 15th. It's more than 2 months since anyone has even scored against them here. I liked how Noah Delgado put it. He said, yeah, I guess we've been pretty good at home lately. Overall, they're 3-1-2 on this pitch this year.
And I think sometimes when you are putting some of those complete performances together and really finding good success defensively, and I know it might be nitpicking, but it's just about flipping some of those draws to 3 points. And can you find that game-changing moment? Obviously, we talked about Johnny Rodriguez, we talked about Formella. Feka, I mean, they have those players that can flip a game. So now it's about executing in that moment where now those 4 draws, you know, maybe you send 2 of those as 3 points and you've collected another 6 points, because with as well as they played, they really find themselves kind of in that middle of that Western Conference right now.
It is a little surprising when you think of all the peripheral things that are really impressive with Oakland and then see them 7th. And Phoenix just 1 point behind in 8th. But again, both playing very well right now. Not only is Oakland unbeaten in its last 4, they've only been beaten once since the middle of April. So the difference between them being 7th and further up is the fact that in that stretch there are 3 ties, not all wins. This is handled by Rocco Rios Novo, who makes his 15th start in goal for Phoenix. He actually made 16 appearances in Major League Soccer with Atlanta United last year. So a very talented goalkeeper. And Paul Blanchette making his 15th start for Oakland has also been excellent this year. Here is Danny Trejo, able to keep that one in play and win, I believe, a corner here for, that actually never left the field of play, amazingly. And it stays alive. That surely looked like it would go off for a corner, and instead, a good break for Oakland, but Phoenix able to win the ball back quickly. Must be a stiff breeze or something in Oakland tonight. Here is Gabby Torres. Sends it across, headed towards the target, but Paul Blanchette is there for his first save of the night. Blanchette, 29 years old, played collegiately, fairly locally at Loyola Marymount a couple of years ago.
You talked about the run of form that Oakland has seen recently. I think for Juan Guerra and Phoenix, not that they weren't hopeful already because of the performances they're putting in, but they've had a little bit of a mixed bag in the first half. I mean, they go on a stretch where they get some good results. They beat Hartford, they beat Orange County at Orange County, and then they drop 1-0 to Las Vegas. And then they go on the road, and obviously Pittsburgh being one of the top teams in the East, they lose 1-0 to Pittsburgh, so they drop 2 in a row, and then they go with 2 draws, and they win. So it just seems like they're waiting for that really complete performance, and for Phoenix being right in that playoff hunt, they know that they can flip the switch and start really putting some consecutive results together, and they can see themselves climb the standings quite quickly.
Yeah, and Phoenix did not make the playoffs last year, finished 10th in the Western Conference. That's unusual for this organization. Meanwhile, Oakland finished 7th in the West, which got them in the playoffs, ended up losing to San Antonio in the Western Conference semifinals. But if the season ended today, which it obviously does not, both of these teams would be in the playoffs, but just barely. Top 8 get in. They are 7th and 8th right now in the West. It's interesting, I thought, the way Noah Delgado put it to us about Phoenix, because we asked him, you know, it's only been 2 weeks, but last time you played them, they were not playing very well coming in. Now you're playing them, and they are playing well coming in. What's the difference? And the thing he pointed to was scoring on set pieces.
Yeah, I think anytime you could use those scripted scenarios that you work on and you really earn those moments, I think it's so important for teams, because you have to be complete in all those phases. And I think, to Noah Delgado's point, they take a lot of pride and a lot of value in those restarts. As we see the foul here coming through the back. Harvey.
So Fede Varela will take this for Phoenix, first year with this group. Last played in Bulgaria, the 27-year-old. making his 10th start and 12th appearance of the year here tonight. In swinging, ball headed, oh, just wide of the target. Wonderful ball there from Varela, and nearly brought Phoenix a breakthrough.
And really catching Blanchett in that moment where coming off his line just a bit late. And Arteaga almost guiding that into that side netting. Really good entry ball in from Varela.
You can almost see the indecision on Blanchett's face. It was a wonderful shot from our camera crew.
Just a split second late and unable to make that initial contact. And you have to be pleased with the start from Phoenix Rising, especially coming after a midweek game. But coming off a midweek game where they beat a solid New Mexico United team 3-1.
Yeah, we've mentioned a bunch of times the last meeting between these two because it was only 2 weeks ago. Should note that Phoenix is coming off the 3-1 win at New Mexico on Wednesday. Oakland has not played since last Saturday. 0-0 tie against Pittsburgh in a match where, frankly, there wasn't a whole lot going on. Both teams really neutralized each other. Is there anything in this match about, you know, one team being on a little shorter rest? Or, I mean, I've heard coaches put it this way. Yeah, it's great to be on rest, but if you're Phoenix, you say, hey, we played Wednesday, let's keep the good times rolling.
Yep. Sometimes you get into that rhythm, and there's only so many things that you can replicate in practice. And I think when you go on the road and you see your team put 3 in the back of the net like Phoenix just did on Wednesday against New Mexico, you definitely want to keep that rolling. And even sometimes when you drop a game, you want to jump right into the next matchup. And we've heard that from Juan Guerra a couple times through the season. But for Oakland, I mean, I know it's a 0-0 draw with Pittsburgh, but I mean, Pittsburgh is a really difficult team, and really difficult team defensively. And as you mentioned, both teams unable to create that.
A collision there, and it ended up with the ball loose and Blanchett down. He and Tariq Morad were not quite on the same page there. And both players slow to get up.
And this is a really scary moment for both these players, both focused on the ball and locating the ball and not aware that they were about to collide with each other. And you have to hope that both are just shaken up and don't have to necessarily come off and be substituted. It definitely looks like Blanchett took the brunt of that collision.
Yeah, Blanchett has played every minute in goal this year for Oakland, and you really hope he's all right. It seems like a situation where, fingers crossed, maybe you were a little more stunned and had the wind knocked out of you more than anything. You can see him sort of shaking off the cobwebs.
Yeah, as you mentioned, hopefully it's more of getting the wind knocked out. Yeah, it didn't look like it was head-to-head, or you know, maybe you get a little bit of whiplash from the landing on the turf, but
fans get the ultimate flexibility with a drinks and seats 5-pack. Each pack includes 5 any game ticket vouchers, valid for any 2023 regular season home match. In addition, each voucher also includes 2 complimentary drinks, either beer or soft drinks, which will also be available to pick up on game day. For more information, visit us at oaklandrootssc.com/tickets or call 510-488-1144. Nearly 14 minutes gone by here in our first half. Alongside Eric Dobransky and our entire outstanding crew, Justin Galanti. Glad you're hanging out with us here on a Saturday night. You know, Eric, luckily Blanchette seems to be all right. That's good news. You'd have to say, though, for a goalkeeper of his quality, a couple hesitant, interesting decisions in the early going in this match.
Yeah, some nervy moments from Blanchette, and really this defensive line for Oakland, and really from the lines of Oakland as well. I think Phoenix is asking a lot of different questions from those wide services and those entry balls.
Diaz moving forward. Diaz having one just outside the post.
And just like that, Oakland can go down the field, connect 2 to 3 passes, and be in on frame. And this is how dangerous this Oakland side can be, and Juan Guerra had mentioned it this week. They're so dynamic, they're good in transition, and they don't get frustrated with being uncomfortable defensively. I mean, we talked about some of the nervy moments with Blanchette in the back line and dealing with some of these services, but they don't let it affect the next moment, and you just saw it there.
What an opportunity that was for Memo Diaz. Now back the other way. That rolled up Carlos Harvey's leg and ends up well over the bar and wide as well. Last time these two met in that 2-2 tie, it was Oakland which were ahead until the 89th minute when Phoenix found an equalizer. Phoenix outshot Oakland, though, 15-6 in that match. So maybe one number we just gave didn't really inform the other, but it was certainly an entertaining night in Phoenix, and we expect the same here this evening. I'll tell you what, though, I mean, the fact of the matter is, yeah, maybe for the players, the Juan Guerra coaching against Oakland is lessened a little bit by this being the second time, but that storyline, that doesn't mean anything when the match is in Phoenix. It means something when it's back in Oakland tonight. So if these fans are going to make a point of that, they're going to make a point of that. That's not going to be lessened by these teams playing somewhere else already.
Yep, you're absolutely right, and I think that goes back to what you had mentioned earlier and what both coaches continued to emphasize. They knew it was going to be a storyline. They knew it was going to be something, as you mentioned, it's more impactful because it's at Oakland. It's an away game for Phoenix, and it's going to be the fan base and the fans that remember the move. But the focus is on the 3 points, and you've seen it right off the bat. These two teams have exchanged opportunities going forward and playing at a frenetic pace.
Yeah, you wonder, I mean, in that scenario, the expectation is always, does that motivate Oakland? You wonder if that motivates Phoenix in a way to, have their coaches back. 17.5 minutes gone by here at Pioneer Stadium. No score to this point. Shots are 3-1 in Phoenix's favor. They have the lone shot on target to this point. Another big factor for Phoenix that has helped them over these last couple matches is the acquisition of Panos Armenakis from Loudoun United. Somebody that not only do we feel and does Juan Guerra feel, but even Noah Delgado said he's a big reason why this team's gotten a lot better the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, and influenced 2 of the 3 goals in their 3-1 win in their midweek matchup. The assist on Trejo's goal in the 31st minute, and then having a goal of his own to start that second half.
Here is Danny Trejo once again. Trejo's cross, Blanchette got a piece of it. Still in the area though. Sent back in toward Blanchett, and this one he handles clean on one bounce.
I mean, Oakland has not conceded yet, but they are treading that fine line of bend but don't break. And they're weathering a storm right now.
It feels like Phoenix is lurking for 19 minutes now. And as much as that is true, that Oakland is weathering a storm at the moment, if it's Phoenix, you don't expect on the road against this good of an opponent to be able to play this well for such long periods of time. So you'd really like to pay this off.
Agreed. And I think that's where this game, it's...
Oh, Blanchett, a mishandle on that shot from Trejo, and there's no doubt about it. I mean, this goalkeeper for Oakland looks a little off tonight.
Yeah, I was going to say this game is going to have its ebbs and flows. And Blanchett making the mess of really a routine save for him. And again, leading the league in 7 clean sheets. So just a bit off tonight. Now his team staying switched on for this corner kick.
Blanchett parries that away, and it's cleared. That corner kick was powered by East Bay Community Energy. East Bay Community providing green power at low rates. Visit ebce.org to find out more. And this will go off for yet another corner for Phoenix, which have played extremely well for 20 minutes, nearly 20 and a half minutes to start this evening. A team that is in much better form going into a match with Oakland than it was 2 weeks ago. And both these sides looking for 3 points to move up the table a bit. Phoenix, by the way, 3-3-2 on the road so far this year. And it is that time, Eric, that you have to start peeking at the table. I mean, it's almost July. It's July on Saturday of next week.
It is, and I just think that, especially for a team like Phoenix, we talk about them trending in the right direction, and they really feel comfortable with where they're going offensively, and still have room to grow defensively, because this is a team that is last in the league in clean sheets. And we talk about Oakland leading the USL in clean sheets. This is a Phoenix side that only has 1 clean sheet this season, and that's an area where they can continue to grow and develop. And as you mentioned, for them as well as Oakland, it's about starting to put pressure on those teams at the top as well. So putting yourself in a really comfortable position come playoff time, but also making sure that those teams ahead of you really feel you and understand that they've got to go ahead and get results as well. That draws are not going to be enough to separate.
Entering the night, El Paso sits atop the Western Conference, 7 points clear of these two sides. This is Arteaga, who we highlighted in the open, leading scorer this year for Phoenix. Not quite on the same page with his teammate there. You would say, though, that our 7th and 8th place the best spot to be in the world? Not necessarily, but both of these sides are in a position where one good 2 or 3 week stretch and you're in 3rd place.
Yeah, and in a Western Conference where everybody, I mean, are picking up points at bunches almost in certain parts, to your point, in certain portions of the season. I mean, you mentioned you string 2 games where you pick up 6 points, and that could absolutely change the trajectory of where you look and where you see yourself throughout the second portion of the regular season.
Jessiel Cedeno was tripped up there. Official deemed it a clean challenge. Formello was looking to get it back to him, and he was still down on the pitch. Lindo Umfeka for Memo Diaz, who had that wonderful opportunity earlier. Sends this one toward the back post, and on a running Wolfgang Prentice. There was a chance there, but couldn't quite get a touch on it. Prentice making his second appearance of the year for Oakland after being recalled from his loan to Forward Madison just last week. Played 3 matches last year with Oakland and scored 2 goals before being sent out on loan to Forward Madison.
And again, Oakland showing Phoenix, just because you're creating some chances, we can create chances of our own. And talked about that sequence from Memo Diaz earlier on in this first half, and then that service there. He might be the one absorbing some of the pressure and some of the chances by Phoenix, but they've been dynamic in the moments they've entered the final third. And Juan Guerra had mentioned it in our call, was Oakland is a team that you can feel like you have all that momentum in your favor, they only need 1 or 2 chances to change the complexion of the game, and they've done that throughout the season. They've had games where they didn't see a lot of the ball, that the possession numbers weren't in favor of the opponents, but they had a chance, they executed and found the goal and picked up the 3 points. So
Johnny Rodriguez starting the attack the other way. It's a 4-on-3 advantage here for Oakland. Mfeka, a left-footed strike. He didn't get much on it, and that's easy for Rocco Rios Novo.
I was going to say, so they continue to prove that they can be dangerous, maybe almost lull you to sleep where you feel like you're in control, and then all of a sudden you find that spark going forward.
And take the first meeting between these two as an example. Oakland had the lead in the 89th minute despite only having about 41% of possession in that match and being outshot 15-6. It was 14-6 before the goal that tied the match, but I think that was a night that both teams maybe felt like they could have gotten 3 points, oddly. Oakland because it had a late lead, Phoenix because a lot of the statistics would tell you they were the better team that night.
And I think that's where this Phoenix Rising team, I keep talking about where they're trending, but now you have this style of play, you have these foundational pieces, the structure. But it doesn't mean anything until you start getting results and you start collecting points and you start putting balls in the back of the net. And I think that's where they feel they're going and they're moving. But now it's about doing it on a consistent clip and against really high-level opponents. And this is a great test for them on the road.
Good run here, and this will be another corner, and give the credit on that one to Armenakis. 24-year-old, was playing in Denmark before joining Loudoun United, and then was traded here just a couple weeks ago. Low ball towards the near post. Perhaps not the best service in the world, and Oakland able to clear and then commit a hard foul. Phoenix does. This will be our first card of the night shown to Phoenix. And it is a yellow to Manuel Arteaga.
And as you mentioned, disappointing service by Panos, and especially when you have a team that is struggling with some of these entry balls. And we've seen Blanchett been a bit indecisive. You've seen some poor clearances, unable to test them again, and then putting a forward like Arteaga in the position where you almost have to foul or else Oakland's off running at your back line. And for a physical forward and attacking player like Arteaga that likes to challenge everything in the air and put pressure, playing on a yellow is sometimes difficult.
Arteaga, though, nearly capitalized on a bit of a heavy touch there from Blanchett. Noah Delgado became the interim head coach for Oakland in August of 2022, played 12 professional seasons across various leagues, and now the permanent head coach of this Oakland Roots side. And, you know, you could tell both coaches were willing, but kind of done talking about the rivalry thing. And it was an interesting way to put it, I thought, when Noah Delgado said every match has a variable, whether it's short rest, traveling to the East Coast, playing a team twice in 14 days, having a lot of people you know on the other side. Every match has something to it. This one just kind of has two things. We just played them, and obviously their coach used to be in my job. Another foul here against Phoenix as we approach the half-hour mark here at Pioneer Stadium.
And to your point, Justin, it's just every game has a story of its own, and they present, as you mentioned, different elements, different variables, and I think that's where entering the second half of the season, you have trends and storylines that have presented themselves, whether, as I mentioned with Phoenix, only one clean sheet thus far, you know, so really the storyline of defensively, you know, not always allowing a goal, but being susceptible to at least conceding one. And I think for Oakland defensively as well, the 7 clean sheets, but the balance they're finding in the attacking box. But that's why sometimes XG and the stat lines and things like that, when you go into games, they're so difficult to not just put aside, but again, present your team with different scenarios that might present different challenges. So I know statistics and those elements have become such a big part of the game now, and they do provide some vital information, some valuable information. But as you mentioned, both coaches highlighting those game-changing scenarios that.
And, you know, Noah Delgado made the exact point to us on the call that you're making, just using XG as an example. If you have a player running in front of the net and gets a perfect pass and totally whiffs on it, that's 0 XG. Yep. So it can be a little bit of a flawed stat. I want to ask you this, though, because, you know, you brought up the point that Phoenix only has 1 clean sheet, which is last in the league. But how do you evaluate that when you look at the fact that they're 13th out of 24 in goals conceded, which is not great, but it's not terrible.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you're giving up 1 every night as opposed to 0, maybe it's, how do you look at that?
Exactly. And I just think you look at it as an area that if you just tweak one area and a little bit differently on the defensive side, I mean, you just get rid of some, whether it's a lapse or just mistake.
This is Trejo moving through a couple of defenders and finally run off the ball.
Goodness, that was really clever by Trejo. Unfortunately ending up with a foul there, but running at the defenders. But as you mentioned, it's just about, I think anytime you have that defensive improvement, because you could just be better at that without the ball. And I think, as you mentioned, collectively, it's not like they're giving up a ton of goals. It's just the timeliness of some of the goals that they're giving up, as we see the foul. Really clever here, but good defending in the end. And that would bring me to their New Mexico matchup. They go up 1-0 on a goal by Trejo, but they go 1-1 to begin the second half against New Mexico United. But they go ahead and find the second goal, and then they go ahead and stretch the lead and find the third goal. So that confidence and that understanding that, okay, we've given up a lead, but there's no panic. They understand how good they can be offensively and how dynamic they can be.
It's interesting when you look at the other side with Oakland, as you pointed out, tops in the league with 7 clean sheets. If you look at their wins, they have 6 of them. They've given up 1 total goal in the 6 wins. You look at the 4 losses, they've given up 3, 2, 2, 3. So what does that mean? I'm not sure. I mean, they have not had matches where they've conceded and still won, basically. What does that say about a team? It's hard to say at this point in the year.
It is, and I think as we've got to look at Noah Delgado there, it's interesting because as coaches, as we see Phoenix.
Torres right back to him. Puts it up high into the area. Nice settle by Arteaga. He got tripped up, but on a clean challenge. Well done by Wolfgang Prentice.
I think what Phoenix is doing really well right now is they're going inside out. They're building within, they're finding success 40 yards away from frame centrally, and then they're plugging that ball out wide, and then they're getting a lot of commitment in numbers. But going back to your question, I think for Noah Delgado and his coaching staff, they probably have a good sense of when their team is playing really good collective defense. Maybe it's first ball pressure, maybe it's the space in between the lines. As we see Danny Trejo picking up a yellow card on that tackle. Because right now, they just don't look connected. They look like they have one ball, they have one player pressing the ball, and then there's a lot of separation between that support defender and that other layer defensively, which is allowing some of the problems they're finding on some of the services here.
Let's remember this. Trejo and Arteaga, who are so important for Phoenix, are both playing on a yellow right now. So let's, memory bank that one. Roots fans, Oakland Roots and Anthem Blue Cross 2023 jerseys are here, and they look, I'm told to say, hella fresh. Purchase your 2023 primary jersey before the home opener by visiting shop.oaklandrootssc.com. It's the first time I've ever said hella. It felt interesting. Just over 30
First and second time.
Exactly. We'll see if I make a habit of it. Good first half here. Justin Galanti, Eric Dobransky, and the whole crew, glad you're with us tonight. Oakland has not threatened all that much, but they've gotten 2 fairly decent opportunities with the only 2 opportunities they've had.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, as much as we're praising some of the opportunities that Phoenix is creating, they have not really created a clear-cut chance on Blanchett. Obviously, Blanchett had the routine save that he had bobbled over the crossbar, but the Memo Diaz opportunity for Oakland.
Arteaga gets it ahead and offside here, as Trejo could not hold his run long enough.
The Memo Diaz chance was probably the most dangerous of this match thus far. And you mentioned the cross by Diaz as well, creating that second chance. Arteaga on the ball, and Trejo just run just a bit too early there, caught off sides.
Johnny Rodriguez able to run this down. 5 goals this year, tied for the team lead. Rodriguez kept it in play. It was redirected on target. And what a stop on Prentice there by Rios Novo. I think everybody for Phoenix thought that was over the end line.
Yeah, now that gives Oakland the 2 best chances of the match. I mean, Johnny Rodriguez out here in this wide area drags in the defender, Zambrano, and just explodes to that end line. And then Prentice almost with the clever finish there, but Rios Novo up to the challenge. That's where, as a goalkeeper, you come up huge, because your team does seem to have the momentum, have the energy going forward. And if you concede in a moment like that, it becomes very difficult. It's a difficult pass to deal with there.
It doesn't always get the headlines, but this is a matchup of two exceptionally talented goalkeepers. Blanchette, the 7 clean sheets, comes in with a .767 save percentage on the year, and Rios Novo not far behind at .703. So 2 goalkeepers that don't concede much, and unlike some of the teams in the league, I mean, they play basically every minute in between the pipes for their team. 40th minute here in our first half, and no score. Shots are 5-3 in favor of Phoenix and 2-1 on target for Phoenix Rising. Both coaches expected a different match than the one 2 weeks ago against the same opponent. That was more of a high-scoring affair. 2-2 was the final. No score here as we start to open the door towards halftime. Clean play there by Alejandro Fuenmayor, one of the Phoenix players who last called Oakland home. Fuenmayor also 38 career MLS appearances with Houston. We'll have a throw coming here. Pretty perfect night in Hayward, California. The sun has gone behind the clouds for the night, and our temperature is 60 degrees at the moment, so maybe feels more like an April night than a late June night, but perfect environment for the second and final match of the year between these two. Oakland in a home stretch right now, and I don't know, when we asked Noah Delgado about this, he didn't seem all that interested, but from your perspective, as here's a wonderful run and an opportunity, but that's chipped just over the bar. Another good chance in transition, this time for Wolfgang Prentice.
It still is that quick attack that Oakland has been so successful with tonight. It's only taking 2 or 3 passes and they're in on frame. And that's where I think Phoenix is struggling a bit tonight. They're doing a good job that when they get into shape defensively, they're able to screen passes. They're able to turn Oakland over. But when Oakland gets some of those quick restarts and are really decisive on the ball, they're putting Phoenix in some really difficult situations.
To finish on that last point, though, when you have a bunch of matches in a row at home, I mean, maybe you don't talk about it as a staff, or you don't mention it to your players, but when it's June, July, you're playing well, but you're in 7th right now. Do you, as a head coach in your head, do you think, kind of map out in your head, like, okay, we've got 3 in a row at home, we need 6-7 points out of this?
Yeah, I would dare to say 100%. I think you probably do navigate the communication outwardly towards your players in terms of the way you approach that, but I just don't see how there's not a obvious conclusion amongst everybody within the organization that when you play at home, you're playing for 3 points. And especially when you're an ambitious club like both of these teams are, that not only want to make the playoffs, these two teams aren't just hopeful to make the playoffs, they want to make the playoffs and make a run in the playoffs. So to do that, you have to beat good teams, and winning at home puts you in a situation where you can host a playoff game, you can make a deep run. don't just accidentally get into the playoffs in the USL Championship.
No, you do not.
You have to beat good teams, and obviously road wins and points on the road are important. But I think that just goes back to your point where when you're at home, you definitely have to value those moments and push for 3 points.
Arteaga, wonderful job to win the ball and doing his best to stay on it. Just no support there for Arteaga. It will be 3 minutes of stoppage time. And that's all that will separate us from potentially a scoreless first half.
And not to jump ahead for Oakland, but they have a matchup with the Tampa Bay Rowdies on the road to start July. RGV midweek.
Yeah, both these teams are actually going to have to play Memphis very soon, the team that's near the top of its conference at the moment. Phoenix will be home for Memphis in its next match, which is next Saturday. So it was Phoenix this week that had the midweek match, and Oakland will have a midweek next week. See if either team can generate anything in the final moments of our first half. Blanchette able to get to this one easily.
And we'll also add this to what we were just discussing about taking a look at the standings and not necessarily pressing for points, but obviously highlighting some different areas where maybe, the road ahead. I will say this, Juan Guerra and Noah Delgado, much like almost all the coaches in the USL Championship, but these two coaches specifically are so structured on their process, and they really firmly believe in the process in which they're playing right now, that they're not going to sacrifice that for the road ahead. They're going to continue to grow in the way they're playing because they know they want to be trending and playing in good rhythm come playoff time.
Trejo across, Arteaga couldn't quite get to it. Boy, those two have been on the precipice of something special the entire evening. And I think they can feel it.
Yeah, those are two players that do not want halftime to happen right now. And two players that probably feel like they should have a goal on the board. Not necessarily that they've created that final opportunity, but they've come very close. Again, these are two teams that moving forward are not going to sacrifice their principles of play.
Perhaps only a few more actions remaining in our first half tonight from Pioneer Stadium. If I asked you who was happier with the way this first half has gone, probably has to be Phoenix, right?
Yeah, I was going to say both coaches.
Yeah,
because, yeah, I would dare to say Juan Guerra, but again, you have to reward yourself for the way you're playing, and I think that's where Juan Guerra is going to tell his side.
There's a chance for Trejo to reward himself, but instead loses the ball. And that'll take us to halftime, a half in which Phoenix had the ball more and had more shots, but perhaps Oakland had the better opportunities.
Yeah, and for Noah Delgado, it's just making an adjustment here or there and really trying to tighten up some things so they can not necessarily just have to rely on the counterattack. But again, happy to go 0-0 into halftime, but for Juan Guerra, they just need to execute in that final third.
So we will take a break and be back with you shortly. No score at halftime between Oakland and Phoenix. What has turned into a nice little rivalry out on the West Coast. A 2-2 tie 14 days ago and scoreless at the half tonight.
It doesn't matter how hard you play, practice, or compete, as long as you do it together. That's why Anthem Blue Cross and Oakland Roots teamed up and took on food insecurity, empowered all athletes to improve physical health, and expanded health and wellness resources available to the residents of Oakland and the Bay Area. We're committed to continuing our work to improve the lives and health of our community, together. Visit oaklandroots.com/anthem to learn more.
How can someone so cute be so complicated? Someone so grown up still have so much growing left to do. We know kids aren't many adults. Their still developing bodies and minds need specialized care, including physicians and care teams who focus on treating kids and only kids, which is why from everyday to emergencies, kids belong at UCSF Benioff Children's Hospitals.
How Fertile Ground works is teach, grow, give. Teach people how to grow food for themselves, grow it, and then give it away to people who need it. We grow about 25,000 pounds of food a year. We also operate something we call the Sustainable School Garden Program. Teachers ask us for help setting up a garden on their own campuses. East Bay Community Energy was nice enough to give us $2,500 that we were able to focus on one of our school gardens, and I am truly grateful.
¡Se metió! ¡Balón adentro, golazo!
We are scoreless at halftime at Pioneer Stadium in Hayward, California, between Oakland Roots and Phoenix Rising. Halftime is brought to you by Anthem Blue Cross. Anthem is transforming healthcare by improving the health of our local communities. Alongside Eric Dobransky, our entire outstanding crew, Justin Galanti, with you on this Saturday night. Let's see what's coming up for both of these sides. Oakland will be at home on Wednesday for RGV, but then 3 out of 4 on the road, and the one team you're playing at home is pretty darn tough.
Yeah, and we mentioned the stretch of home games for Oakland, now facing 3 out of 5 on the road and 1 at Tampa Bay Rowdies. What you don't want to do is drop points along the way and then have to stretch yourself later in the second part of this regular season to get points. As we look at Phoenix's upcoming schedule, same as Oakland, 3 of the 5 on the road. Up next for them is Memphis, a really good Sacramento Republic side as well. And for 2 ambitious sides, picking up 3 points is just going to continue to build that momentum.
We're going to hit another break. I hope that's not a real snake. On the other side, we will take a look around what else is happening in USL Championship this evening. Oakland Phoenix level 0-0 at the half.
Are you ready? Ready for more of the game you love? Ready for more players and more teams? Ready for more stadiums, for more fans in more cities? This is a different league. The USL Super League. Built for the future of women's soccer, bridging the journey from youth to pro, connected to the global game, and bringing it all closer to home. Are you ready?
We all have goals. But let's be honest. Most of us aren't going to be professional athletes. But if your goal is to finish your degree, we can help. Come to a university that puts your goals first. Bellevue University, your partner in finishing goals.
Taxes man, left foot, and it's a first-time shot, and a goal! Luis Fernando! It's turned over. Babu Karjai to put it away! Phoenix Rising will take all 3 points, 3-1 Rising!
It doesn't matter how hard you play, practice, or compete, as long as you do it together. That's why Anthem Blue Cross and Oakland Roots teamed up and took on food insecurity, empowered all athletes to improve physical health, and expanded health and wellness resources available to the residents of Oakland and the Bay Area. We're committed to continuing our work to improve the lives and health of our community, together. Visit oaklandroots.com/anthem to learn more.
Halftime, and Oakland level 0-0 with Phoenix through 45 minutes at Pioneer Stadium. Let's check out the news and notes from around USL Championship. The Proud to Be platform is a declaration of our club's pride activations, awareness, and telling LGBTQ+ stories across USL. Go to www.uslsoccer.com/proud2be for more. Dominique Wilkins, the Hall of Famer, former Atlanta Hawk, joins Birmingham Legion FC ownership group as an investor. That's pretty cool. I always thought my pickup game resembled his a little bit, so it's nice to have him in the league. And USL coming up on ESPN2. Phoenix Rising, this team, and Memphis 901 FC on Saturday, 11 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. Let's look at the upcoming schedule. Couple midweek matches. Wednesday, Oakland will be at RGV, as we said. Charleston, Loudoun United Friday, Tulsa, Detroit on Friday, and then the 3 matches on Saturday. Eric, what catches your eye here?
I think 2 matches. Charleston Battery, obviously all of them being intriguing matchups, but I think Charleston Battery catching a Loudoun United team who had a really hot start to the season, have had some challenging results now. Tonight, they were 2-2 with Tampa Bay Rowdies and then end up losing 4-2. And Charleston Battery facing some tough results of their own. Obviously, Pittsburgh Riverhounds and Lou City. What a matchup, 2 powerhouses in the East. And then Miami FC, if they want to make the playoffs, they're going to have to start stringing some results together.
Now let's look at tonight's out-of-town scores, brought to you by Visit Oakland. Get out on the town and visit Oakland to explore arts, culture, and world-class cuisine. They just went final in that Memphis-Charleston match, and Memphis, which was up 3-1, holds on for the 3-2 win. Pittsburgh, a 2-1 winner against San Diego tonight. Indy, 2-0 over Hartford. Lou City continues to force Las Vegas to struggle a little bit, a 1-0 win for them. You mentioned the Tampa Bay Loudoun United result, and Orange County 1-0 over Detroit, and a couple matches going on right now as well. As always, a fun Saturday night around USL Championship. Again, halftime is brought to you by Anthem Blue Cross. Anthem is transforming healthcare by improving the health of our local communities. We'll be back with stats and highlights in the second half in just a moment.
¡Se metió! ¡Balón adentro, golazo!
How can someone so cute be so complicated? Someone so grown up, still have so much growing left to do. We know kids aren't many adults. Their still developing bodies and minds need specialized care, including physicians and care teams who focus on treating kids, and only kids, which is why, from everyday to emergencies, kids belong at UCSF Benioff Children's Hospitals.
Wouldn't it be great to have delicious, healthy meals delivered right to your door? No planning, shopping, or prepping. And what if your delivery was full of plant-based, fresh ingredients that truly nourish and fuel your body? Try Thistle. Our in-house chefs create a new menu each week for you to choose from before it arrives ready to eat. No prep needed. And for a limited time, you can save $100 off your first 4 weeks. So go ahead and autopilot your diet. Get started today at jointhistle.com.
My name is Ed, and I live in San Leandro, California. I've always been concerned about being prepared. And being on a medical baseline where I have a CPAP machine, I was wondering, will I be able to keep that thing going? I got an email from East Bay Community Energy, and they mentioned a rebate about getting an electrical generator. So I went for it. East Bay Community Energy has been great. They're doing a job to help our environment, and I think they're really supportive.
Tonight's match is presented in part by Anthem Blue Cross, by UCSF, and by Modelo. Getting set for the start of the second half between Oakland and Phoenix, but before we can do that, let's check out what happened in the first half. No goals, but plenty of action, Eric.
Yeah, and I mentioned in the first half that the two best chances came from Oakland Roots, and I am mistaken because this early chance in the 5th minute by Arteaga was very interesting from Phoenix. The service, tremendous by Varela. Then that initial contact by Arteaga really testing Oakland early. But then this is where Oakland started to find a rhythm in transition in the counter. The little layoff there by Mufeka to Memo Diaz. And just a yard off that far post. But it was Phoenix that kind of kept that attacking momentum going, even though they couldn't create a clear-cut chance to test Blanchette, but deflecting that service. And we touched on it towards the end of that first half. The combination of Arteaga and Trejo was very dangerous. They were really starting to click and fire on all cylinders. And then Blanchette had some, whether it was the services and this play right there, some that got away from him and giving Phoenix a corner there on pretty routine save.
Our stats from the first half: shots were fairly even, shots on target were even, possession was extremely close. So it was really hard to get a feel for who had the better of those first 45 minutes, meaning it's hard to guess who's going to get the better of the next 45. What do you think each coach sort of brought to their team at halftime? Because you could argue both, as you said during the first half, were fairly happy with the way the first half went.
Yeah, because for Noah Delgado and Oakland, I think you see some of those moments as manageable, and you could start getting a bit more pressure on that first ball, some of that support defending as well, and not so much space in between the lines. So you correct some of those things, and you're going to see a lot more of the ball. You're going to see a lot more of a rhythm going forward. But for Phoenix, as you mentioned, you come into halftime with no team really in favor in terms of the obviously the scoreboard. But for Phoenix, they're going to feel like they left some chances out there, is what I'm saying. And for Juan Guerra, it's going to be about finishing that final detail, whether it's the entry pass or the strike itself. And sometimes when you feel like you have that momentum and that offensive rhythm, you tend to get too casual with it. So I'm really interested to see Phoenix. Can they keep their foot on the gas and keep going forward in a positive manner?
Second half underway at Pioneer Stadium. If you're just joining us, these two sides played to a 2-2 draw 14 days ago. So they have played You know, they've played 3 halves of soccer against each other this year, and they have nothing separating them at the moment. No subs at halftime for either side.
And I'm going to touch on the attacking side for Oakland right now, but I still do think that there's defensive tweaks that they could make to really be more effective in winning the ball higher up the field and really positively affecting the shape in which they're in when they do regain possession. But I think getting Johnny Rodriguez on the ball in the final third in those faced-up 1v1 matchups is going to be something that Noah Delgado and this team are really going to try to emphasize here in the second half, because we saw the way he was able to explode out of some of those sequences and some of those matchups in the first half, but they just didn't happen often enough. And I think that can take some of the attention off of Formella, and we saw some of those far post runs become available for Oakland. So I think getting Johnny Rodriguez on the ball in the final third faced up is going to be a priority for Oakland. I also think that Matt Soso on the ball in midfield for Oakland is going to be something that is going to help even out the tempo for this matchup. But again, for Phoenix, creating but finishing is going to be something that they're going to have to highlight if they want to get 3 points and find a goal here in the second half.
Is there anything to the idea that if you're Oakland and you've played 14 matches this year, you have 7 clean sheets, that's half, first in the league, you have not given up a goal at home in more than 2 months. Can you get a little too focused on that end of the pitch and be a little too, you know, not be urgent enough offensively because you're so confident you're not going to give a goal up that you feel like, okay, we'll score eventually, and then sometimes it doesn't happen?
Yep, you can get too caught up, and as you mentioned, in it's going to eventually happen, but you have to make it happen. You have to create it, and I think for Oakland, they let their defense translate into momentum offensively, and I think I tell teams all the time, sometimes the best, not sometimes, all the time, the best attacking shape is good defensive shape.
Sure.
And your work off the ball is really important, and I think that's why we haven't seen Oakland in a really good rhythm in the first 45, because defensively they've been a bit out of sorts.
Trejo's shot was deflected right to Armenakis. He couldn't get a shot through. Still in a dangerous area. Armenakis was shouldered down there, but no call made. Jessiel Cedeno with the physical play. Coming back the other way, Oakland's attack was broken up by Alejandro Fuenmayor.
And that was a really good intervention there, because if that ball makes it through, it looked like it was one-on-one on the goalkeeper.
Comes out wide. Wolfgang Prentice. This will be a throw for Oakland.
And already a better start for Oakland in the second half.
You can almost frame anything any way that you want in life, I guess. Certainly in sport, and certainly in soccer. But it is interesting playing it in your own head. When you think about it, Phoenix could very easily say, wow, we really outplayed them.
Yep.
And Oakland can say, wow, they really outplayed us and didn't score. That's not going to happen again. So
yep.
You could look at it positively and negatively, no matter which side you're on.
Yeah, it's all about perspective. I mean, you talk about some of the games where you mentioned even their last matchup, the 2-2 draw. You know, Oakland on the road, do you take a point? Yeah, I mean, you probably in perspective, but now you add in you conceded late, and you give up the 3 points and only get a point. So as you mentioned, you could really spin it however you want. You tell any coach you can get a point on the road.
There's Armenakis moving in for Phoenix. Back towards the middle of the pitch, again unable to get a shot through. This Oakland back line doing a wonderful job keeping balls away from Blanchette. That's why you can't play the game of, well, if I told you before the match this would happen.
Yep.
Right? If I told you before you'd get a point on the road, you'd take it. And even if I told you you'd be ahead with a minute left.
And I always love it because I do it as a coach as well. It's when you talk to coaches post-match, and whether it's we deserved more or we deserved more than 1 point or in a loss, you know, this is a game about game-changing plays, and you have to execute, and you have to be composed in those moments, that moment in front of frame or defensively on clearances or those 1v1 duels. And this is a cruel game where you can be the best team on the field and still lose.
You can be the best team on the pitch for 89 minutes and 58 seconds and still lose, right? Ball comes in toward the box, deflected up into the air, still in a dangerous area as Formello got knocked down. And this will be a throw for Oakland. And that's why being able to play a consistent 90 minutes is always something that coaches are talking about and striving for.
Well, and then going back to your point about
Formella settles this bouncing ball, but easily handled by Rios Novo.
But going back to your point about Oakland sometimes assuming too much, because obviously they're good defensively, they're solid there, assuming that they're going to find that go-ahead goal. When you're that strong defensively, as Oakland's proven to be, much like Pittsburgh's proven to be in the Eastern Conference, you know that you're going to be in every game. And I think that's a strong sense from Noah Delgado and his side, is when you can play the defense that they play and collectively that they're going to be in every match. And defense travels, whether you're on the road, you're at home, your structure allows you to contend and really frustrate teams.
Rodriguez and Harvey were carrying on, and now Rodriguez carrying on with our head referee, Abdu Enjai. Shots are 9-7 in favor of Phoenix at the moment. Oakland a 3-2 advantage, shots on frame. Rodriguez thought he got kicked in that last sequence, but obviously did not get the call and didn't like it. I guess no one likes it when they don't get calls. Gabby Torres forced out wide, a good ball in. A bit heavy on the first touch, and finally Blanchette out to get it. Boy, it looked like Fede Varela had every opportunity in the world to put that ball on target and just couldn't quite settle it.
And you almost wonder if he could have taken that one time. Good clipped in ball here by Gabby Torres. Ball falls to the feet of Varela, and you almost think that he could have tucked it away, taking that extra touch, allowing Oakland to challenge it defensively. I don't want to say wasted opportunity, but an opportunity that ended up not equating to a challenge on Blanchette.
And it's been a while since we've seen Blanchette really do much, but the way he started this match, you'd probably like to force him to handle the ball as much as possible.
No, that's a great point. I mean, they were clipping in services and providing a lot of challenges to that back line in Blanchette, and that's kind of dissipated throughout this match. And And obviously give credit to Oakland where their first ball press is really dictating some of those services as well, but not testing Blanchette like they did early.
Here's Wolfgang Prentice, unable to make it through. Well defended again, but Prentice has been active tonight. Again, just playing in his second match since being recalled from his loan to Forward Madison FC. Prentice ahead for Johnny Rodriguez. And a foul here, and a yellow will be shown. Third yellow of the night against Phoenix, as this one goes to Gabby Torres.
You can see here Gabby Torres coming in, clipping Johnny Rodriguez late. So if he was complaining about being kicked earlier, he definitely got clipped here, but this time earning the free kick, and in an area for Oakland where you can challenge and use a couple of different free kicks, whether you want to clip it wide and then look for a secondary service, or you want to just go right in behind the back line.
Gabby Torres played his college soccer at the University of the District of Columbia. Firebirds. 26-year-old, played with FC Tulsa for a few years prior to joining Phoenix last season. So free kick coming here for Oakland. Memo Diaz. And Rios Novo able to handle it. Oakland trying to force the issue back the other way. Or I should say Phoenix. Armenakis. Scored on Wednesday. Handled by Blanchette. So in that last sequence, Edwin Munjoma also was shown a yellow for Phoenix. So 4 players playing on a yellow right now. Torres, Munjoma, as well as Arteaga and Trejo for Phoenix. Good recovery there to win the ball by Cedeno. Was passed just a bit out of Mfeka's reach. We approach the 1 hour mark at Pioneer Stadium, alongside Eric Dobransky and our great crew here at the USL Championship. Justin Galanti, so happy you're with us tonight. Played all the way back to Blanchette, a bit heavy on the touch, and Blanchette recovers, a little shaken up. Boy, oh boy, this has been a testy night for the 29-year-old veteran.
Yeah, and it starts with a really poor ball played back. And then a heavy touch that leads to Blanchette having to make a tackle of his own in his own 18-yard box, but fortunate to keep the ball out of the back of the net and still be at 0-0.
About to have our first substitutions of the night. Phoenix bringing Erickson Gallardo and Henry Uzochukwu on. And our substitutions are powered by East Bay Community Energy. East Bay Community Energy, providing green power at low rates. Visit ebce.org to find out more. Uzochukwu making his 12th appearance of the year. Only the 4th time he's come off the bench. Gallardo in for the 10th time. 26-year-old from Venezuela. I've been trying to think of the word, and I guess what I've come up with is just uncharacteristic, some of the things that have happened on the defensive end of the pitch for Oakland.
Yeah, I like that. And I think they've been fortunate to get away with those uncharacteristic scenarios. And I think what you don't want to be is the leader of your own demise in terms of creating an opportunity for your own opponent. And I think that's where they've created one or two really testy moments, as you've mentioned, with whether in the first half or just a few moments ago.
Question is, in about a half hour's time, will we be saying that they got away with some moments, or we could see trouble coming? Fans, celebrate your next event with Oakland Roots. Groups of 10 or more can take advantage of specially priced tickets and enjoy memorable experiences, including player meet and greets, the Parade of Champions, playing on the field at halftime, and more. To reserve your group experience, contact us at tickets@rootssc.com or call 510-488-1144. Crowd starting to get into it a little bit here in the second half. Phoenix out shooting Oakland 10-7, each side with 3 on target. Possession is still very close to 50-50 at this moment. Oakland on the attack once again, Memo Diaz. Quite enough numbers forward for Oakland there. Still holding on to the ball though. Cedeno had it taken away. A couple players collided with one another, and eventually Phoenix comes away with the ball. Arteaga for Armenakis. Panos for Erickson Gallardo, whose cross comes in front, and it's cleared away from trouble.
Now Phoenix trying to prove how dangerous they can be in those transition moments. Really good work by Harvey to really spark that sequence.
You know, when Noel Delgado was talking about Oakland's last match against Pittsburgh, a 0-0 draw, he said on that night, it would have taken something really special or a really bad mistake for someone to score. It doesn't really feel like that tonight. It's kind of more just no one's happened to score.
Yeah, and I think...
And a bit of a sloppy play there as Oakland concedes a corner. Daniel Barbier was trying to play that to Blanchette and sent it clear wide of him.
And another, as you mentioned, uncharacteristic moment for Oakland, having to defend a corner kick when really it could have ended in a routine play.
Nothing doing on that opportunity for Phoenix.
And then, but to your point earlier, it's really two teams that have probably earned themselves a goal so far in this match each. And it's a bit of surprise to see 0-0 right now, but as we talked about in the first half, every game's got a story of its own. We talked about Noah Delgado, talking about the number of variables that present themselves per match, and it's definitely not for a lack of trying from both of these sides. And
is it difficult when you're in a stretch like this, if you're Oakland, where your last match was 0-0, we're getting towards 70 minutes here, 0-0 again, so I know you don't want to concede any goals, but you know, you've played a lot of soccer without anyone scoring. As Gallardo has a chance here, Gallardo just outside the back post. Right off the bench, Gallardo with perhaps the best opportunity of the night for Phoenix.
And what a ball played in here by Trejo, and almost the same area as where Memo Diaz missed in the first half. What an entrance that would have been by Gallardo. And it starts with a really clever run, because anytime you could time it like that and have that kind of space, you've done a lot of things right. You just missed on the finish.
Oakland makes a substitution here. Wolfgang Prentice comes off, replaced by Trayvon Reed, the 23-year-old. First season with Oakland after playing for Harborview FC in Jamaica last year. Just back to that point though, can it get a little difficult when you're in a long stretch of matches where no one's scoring?
I mean, I think that's where a team like Oakland, you might grow in confidence, because you know defensively the structure is going to be there, the principles are going to be there. So you feel like with 20+ minutes left in this match, you're going to create at least one clear-cut chance. Now it's up to you to bury it, but you're going to create one clear-cut chance, and you know defensively. And on the flip side, Phoenix, not that they're thinking about this in the run of play, but they're the team that only has one clean sheet. So do they?
A chance on the back post. It was deflected by Rios Novo, and enough to break up the play.
Do they have the ability to close this game out, keeping it at 0-0?
As we touched on in the open, Oakland and Phoenix are separated by 1 point and 1 spot in the Western Conference table. Oakland with 22 points in 7th entering the night. Phoenix 21 points in 8th entering the night. Phoenix unbeaten in its last 3. Oakland unbeaten in its last 4. And they have played to a 0-0 stalemate for nearly an hour and 10 minutes. After 14 days ago, they played to a 2-2 tie. A little bit of space here for Reed, who just came on. Should be a throw. Barbier was asking for a hand, but will not get that call.
But I talk about the confidence that Oakland can gain on their defensive structure. For Phoenix, this is a team that scored 7 goals in the last 3 matches. They have a 2-2 draw against, as we've mentioned, Oakland, 2-2 draw against Lou City, and then the 3-1 win at New Mexico.
Now remember, in the first half, we mentioned in Oakland's 6 wins this year, they have conceded 1 total goal. so they don't really give up a goal or more and win. File this as well in the for what it's worth category. In Phoenix's four losses this year, they have not scored, and they have 0 ties of a 0-0 score. So when they don't score, they have not gotten results this year, which of course makes sense. Here's another chance for Gallardo on the takeaway, sends it across. Can they get one on target here? Harvey waiting with it. Armenakis is waiting for the ball, and it looks like Oakland has recovered from that mishap and able to clear. My goodness.
And that had to be a moment for Gallardo.
Now Formella on the other side.
He does such a great job of reading that play and turning them over.
Difficult to come out of that sequence without a shot.
It is, yeah, and that's a great point. Is not only did you not score off a 3-on-1 on the goalkeeper, well, not on the goalkeeper, on defender that was there for Oakland as well, but you didn't even end up with a shot on frame. So again, a moment that Gallardo had a chance earlier in the second half as he came on as a substitute that he sent just wide, but there it's almost as if he needed to take that chance himself, elects to pass it.
Sometimes you can be a little too unselfish. No one's ever told me that before, but
yeah, and I don't know if that's something in the back of his mind of the miss earlier on.
Sure. Danny Gomez is coming on for Oakland, replacing Napo Matsoso. Both coaches trying to find some fresh legs for the latter stretches of this match.
And all in midfield thus far. Different looks, different tempo.
Gomez appearing in his 6th match this year. First time he's come off the bench. Joined Oakland in December of 2022 after playing collegiately at Cal State Stanislaus.
I know I've highlighted Gallardo not taking that chance there, but again, just keep adding the uncharacteristic turnovers that Oakland is creating. So you just wonder if, with over 15 minutes left, they have another one left where, you know, one just gets away from them, because there's only so much that you could live on the edge there with those turnovers. And they're loud turnovers. They're not just casual turnovers at midfield. They're opportunities.
If you didn't know anything and just watched this match tonight, I think you would be unlikely to believe me if I told you that Oakland had not allowed a goal on this pitch in 2 months.
Yeah, and that's why I really liked the term you used earlier, was uncharacteristic, because they almost seem to be finding ways to get Phoenix a goal, but again, for Noah Delgado and his side, they're still at 0-0. They have created a number of chances themselves, and these are all fixable mistakes. They're just simple lapses, whether it's execution or just not knowing where Phoenix defenders are in some specific moments, but
and perhaps surprising that it's Phoenix that's the side that played on Wednesday. Some of these mistakes, maybe fair or not, you could say a team on short rest could make, but it's been the opposite.
Yeah, they've been the opportunistic side.
Into the 76th minute. Justin Galanti, Eric Dobransky, and the whole crew. Hope you're enjoying your Saturday night with tonight's Western Conference matchup between Oakland Roots and Phoenix Rising here in USL Championship. Clean challenge there. Trayvon Reed trying to get to this, but Rios Novo the first on it. Still plenty of time left, but at halftime, we both sort of felt like Phoenix was happier with the first half.
Yeah.
But now, if this score holds, based on the way this match has gone, I think Oakland would be the one that feels fortunate to walk out with a tie.
I would agree, and I think with some of the chances and the turnovers that they've offered up to Phoenix in the build-up, I think Oakland is going to feel like a 0-0 draw. They take the point and learn from it, grow from it.
Good step forward here, big chance, and it's just wide. Carlos Harvey, again, off a turnover, steps forward and nearly ripped it in the back of the net.
Yeah, and you could see the frustration there by Blanchette because it does come from another turnover. And this is where these turnovers not only start to add up to chances, but they start to add up to that mentality. Harvey takes 2 touches forward and he knows exactly where he's going. He's going to take on frame. And then Phoenix is starting to creep higher and higher up the field because now they're really feeling like Oakland is turning the ball over at an alarming rate. So now they feel like they can win this ball 35, 40 yards away from frame and have really good numbers.
And you also appreciate Harvey taking that opportunity with such confidence after the previous sequence where no one took a shot.
Yep.
Oakland back the other way. Trayvon Reed having one. And it will result in an Oakland throw.
And you keep seeing some of these turnovers by Oakland, and you just keep thinking that, okay, they'll move on now. They'll learn from that moment, and they'll learn to be more secure out of the back. They'll be safe and through the build.
It just hasn't happened.
No, and you just have to hope for Noah Delgado and Oakland that they've kind of done away with that final turnover for Juan Guerra and Phoenix and his side. I mean, why not keep pressing the tempo and push them and force them into those areas that they're uncomfortable playing into?
I feel like based on the way this match has gone, you're so curious as to how it's going to finish. And it's only, 15 minutes from now when it will.
Yeah.
But Phoenix has been gifted so many opportunities. You just want to know if they're going to convert on one. Meanwhile, on the other side, you think, could Oakland somehow create one chance and steal 3 points out of this? Rios Novo. Some really interesting things happening tonight. Oakland ends up with the ball.
And listen, I don't want to take away from what either of these sides are doing defensively and collectively off the ball, but I would be surprised if this game finishes 0-0. As you mentioned, I think for Oakland, they can create one more clear-cut chance, and then for Phoenix, I mean, they continue to look dangerous.
Good recovery there by Fuenmayor. Rodriguez is making a bid to get around him and move in one-on-one on Rios Novo.
And we have not seen that connection and that rhythm that we saw in the first half that you and I highlighted between Arteaga and Trejo here in the second half. Not a lot of link-up play between those two.
Good step forward to win the ball. A chance for Melo! It had to be him, and it had to be Oakland.
Formella, up until this moment, just now, had to have felt frustrated with the performance and the overall influence on the match. But this is what good strikers and good attackers do, is when their name is called and they're called upon in that moment, they find the back of the net and they impact the match. Really good step there by Cedeno for Oakland. And what a ball played in by Mufeka. That left-footed, textured ball right in behind, and Formella decisive with the first touch, preps it, and just absolutely blasts it by Rios Novo.
Formella shown a yellow for taking off his jersey, even though he had an undershirt on. Either way, that goal is a $510 donation to Oakland Parks and Rec Foundation, brought to you by East Bay Community Energy. OPRF provides financial and volunteer resources and advocates for recreation programs and parks in Oakland. So Formella in the 82nd minute, finally with the breakthrough. And now if you're Phoenix, what thoughts are going through your mind at the moment?
I mean, moving past the frustration thoughts, you need to now go into execute at a high level and find the equalizer. And I think there's still plenty of time to go ahead and do that. But obviously a bit shocked by that goal. And as we mentioned, we highlighted Formella in the open. 5 goals coming into the game now, finding his 6th of the season. And when you're just not seeing a lot of success or not seeing a lot of the ball, and especially as an attacking player where you're counting on other players to get you those entry passes, I mean, just to stay ready as he did, very well done.
Fans' roots are back at home on June 28th at Cal State University East Bay versus Rio Grande Valley FC. Limited single game tickets are still available. Purchase yours now before they sell out. To secure your tickets, visit us at oaklandrootssc.com/tickets or call 510-488-1144. There's a yellow shown for this last challenge from Johnny Rodriguez.
Getting Harvey there with his left elbow.
Formella with 6 goals now this year, alone for the team lead, passing Rodriguez. And the assist to Lindo Mfeka, his 2nd of the year. Former USF Bowl. Well, you were right. You said you'd be surprised if this match finished 0-0, and that's a bold statement to make in the 79th minute when you made it, but it was the right call.
It's just the ebbs and flows of this game, and have just been screaming for a goal to come, and you had mentioned Oakland possibly creating that one final opportunity, and it's their attacker Formella, and that's just, again, having an understanding. We talked about their structure defensively, having an understanding of being in the game 0-0 and knowing that you can just create one chance that can flip this match.
Emrah Clementa and Anwar Pelaez in now for Oakland. By the way, that was the 6th goal this year that Oakland has scored in the last 15 minutes of the second half. That is the 3rd most in all of USL Championship, only behind San Diego Loyal and Birmingham Legion. Clementa on for Mfeka in the 88th minute. This match has been something. And Oakland trying to hold on for a few minutes and earn 3 points. This would also be a 5th consecutive match in which Oakland has either won or tied. They've not been beaten since May 20th, and again have not conceded a goal at home since April 15th against Hartford. This will be a foul on Arteaga. Phoenix fans likely thought a corner was coming. Instead, more time will run off the clock.
And if this scoreline stands, and obviously feel free to help me with the terminology that I'm searching for right now, I want to say it'd be a gritty performance from Oakland, but I also want to continue to highlight some of the turnovers and some of the self-inflicted situations that they presented.
You know, I think it's a performance where some coaches would say it's a dream.
Yeah.
We win, we get 3 points, and I can tell you all the things you did wrong.
Yep.
Right?
And that's a terrific point, because as a coach, I always would prefer winning and getting 3 points and having a lot to learn still than losing and learning.
Right.
And having to learn from those mistakes. Yeah. So that's a great point.
Foul here against Phoenix. But there are not many nights where you'll get away with the turnovers and mistakes that Oakland have made and walk out not only with 3 points, but potentially another clean sheet.
Yeah, that's a really great point, is not only picking up 3 points, but they pick up their 8th clean sheet of the season, and obviously still plenty of time.
Fans, this corner is powered by East Bay Community Energy. East Bay Community providing green power at low rates. A chance, shot deflected, loose change in front, just wide. Pelaya has had the opportunity, and Phoenix has to go here. 4 minutes of added time. That would have been the nail in the coffin for sure. Foul on the other end on Trayvon Reed. And he has shown a yellow.
And with this restart, Phoenix can really find a spell here in the final 3 minutes. Keep Oakland pinned in their own half.
So many opportunities throughout the night. But if you're Phoenix, you're starting to wonder, will we get any more?
Yeah, and mention those opportunities. You're asking for one more if you're Phoenix. And we talk about perspective and approaches. I mean, you're sitting at 0-0 and you feel like you're playing with a lot of confidence and you're playing with a lot of momentum going forward.
Cross comes in front and we are level! Finally, out of nowhere, Arteaga equalizes.
And Gallardo gets around that corner. He just explodes past his defender, but still has a lot to do, and he does it with the service. Drags him wide, explodes around, and the shape and the pace in which he's able to whip this cross in. And Arteaga working off the back shoulder of the Oakland defenders. Everybody's focus is on the ball, on the service. He's able to sneak in behind and level this match. And it only adds to the discussion we were having earlier of the perspective and how you want to frame a match, because at 0-0, they're both picking up a point, and now at 1-1, if this game finishes, they're both picking up a point.
And incredibly, in the 2 matches this year, here's another opportunity for Oakland. Trayvon Reed moving in. Trayvon Reed to his right. Still Reed. Rios Novo with the save. A game-saving stop from Rocco Rios Novo.
And that would have been devastating for Phoenix. What a save by Rios Novo, and now this game has just gone wide open.
We've passed the 4 minutes, and we've reached full time. Incredibly, a 1-1 tie, and each team receives a point tonight.
Yeah, now you see the disappointment from Noah Delgado, and you saw the celebration from Juan Guerra and his coaching staff. Again, the emotional roller coaster from both these teams. Obviously, Phoenix having a number of chances, and there Formella thinking that he had the game winner. You could see the frustration over conceding in stoppage time.
And it's amazing because in the 2 matches this year between these two, you could pretty easily say that for the body of the match, Phoenix was the better side. And in both matches, Oakland had the lead, and Phoenix equalized in the 89th minute in the first match, and then in stoppage time in the second. And the 2 meetings this year between Oakland and Phoenix end in 1-1 draws. We'll take a break and be back in just a moment to wrap things up.
It doesn't matter how hard you play, practice, or compete, as long as you do it together. That's why Anthem Blue Cross and Oakland Roots teamed up and took on food insecurity, empowered all athletes to improve physical health, and expanded health and wellness resources available to the residents of Oakland and the Bay Area. We're committed to continuing our work to improve the lives and health of our community, together. Visit oaklandroots.com/anthem to learn more.
Wouldn't it be great to have delicious, healthy meals delivered right to your door? No planning, shopping, or prepping. And what if your delivery was full of plant-based, fresh ingredients that truly nourish and fuel your body? Try Thistle. Our in-house chefs create a new menu each week for you to choose from before it arrives ready to eat. No prep needed. And for a limited time, you can save $100 off your first 4 weeks. So go ahead and autopilot your diet. Get started today at jointhistle.com.
What a night at Pioneer Stadium, a 1-1 tie between Oakland and Phoenix. The kind of night where hopefully no one at this match left early to beat traffic. Just incredible stuff. And Eric Dobransky, let's take a look back at how we got to this point. So many chances in the first half, so many chances in the second half, turnovers, whatever. It was 0-0 for the longest time.
And you said it earlier, uncharacteristic scenarios presented by Oakland. Bad pass backwards and then the heavy touch by Blanchette, and then having to put himself into a tackle there to prevent any damage from Phoenix scoring. And then this ball played in by Trejo, and then the run, Gallardo just coming in and just wide to the right of Blanchette. And this is where Phoenix really started to regain momentum, but then it's a turnover at midfield and a ball in by Mufeka, left-footed service, entry pass to Formella, the prep touch and the finish. And at this point, in the 82nd minute, we thought this could possibly be the game winner, but with 4 added minutes, Gallardo gets around the corner, but not only that, the precision with the service, and Arteaga levels this game late. And then this moment by Reed, the big touch into space, taking his time. I almost thought that he put himself in a tough situation there, but then he got central, and the Rios Novo, strong hand down to the right side, saving the game for Phoenix there late.
Just incredible stuff. These were our final stats. Hard to believe that those numbers and what we just watched resulted in 1-1, but that's what happened.
Well, and then that we see 2 goals after the 80th minute, really, 82nd, and then the 93rd. And I go back to the fascinating conversation that we had earlier about the perspective and how you frame this. Obviously, Noah Delgado, his side, struggled with some of those turnovers in the build, but they find the goal. Formella, tremendous goal, and they feel like they should have gotten 3 points, and then the late goal by Phoenix Rising, and then Juan Guerra, his side, have to be feeling really good about leaving a road game with 1 point.
Well, that was a lot of fun, and we hope you all enjoyed it as much as we did. Phoenix will be home for Memphis next Saturday. Oakland will be home for RGV on Wednesday. For our whole crew and my partner Eric Dobransky, Justin Galanti saying goodnight. Oakland and Phoenix each walk out with a point. It's a 1-1 draw.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.